Hey, welcome to the channel. Inside this package, I have a piece of technology history, the first ever Kindle, and we're going to replace the battery, see if we can make it work, and see what it's like to read on a vintage Kindle in 2023. Before we get started, my name is Lee. I love to do videos on technology, cool new software, cool hardware, and if you'd like to see more, be sure to hit the subscribe button below. All right, now we're going to take a look at this magnificent eBay beast and see what kind of shape she's in. This cost me, I think, like 20 bucks on eBay. They did say the battery was dead, so we're going to have to do a battery replacement, so that's expected. But let's go ahead and open her up. Seems so far nicely wrapped. Let's see. Open up. Nice cardboard. I got a peek, and there it is, an OG Generation 1 Amazon Kindle. You can see the screen is showing that the battery has been shut down and that it needs to be charged. So I don't expect that the battery that's in there will work at all. I'll do a quick check to see, but I don't expect that it will. One of the things that's super great about this generation of Kindle is you can see on the back it has this kind of rather attractive rubberized grip, and you can actually just pop it off really easily, get right at the battery, and there's even an SD, wow, there's an SD card in there, which is pretty cool. See what's on that. If not, hey, free SD card for me. But you can see there's a lot of nice details here. There's this kind of honeycomb hexagon look here. You've got just a lot of really, even though it's a pretty homely device, there's a lot of very premium feeling appointments, which given the cost of this thing back in the day, is not terribly surprising. So for all the talk about how expensive the Kindle Scribe is, this original Kindle was $399 in 2007 money. That's about $575 in 2023, more than the cost of a PlayStation 5. So these were very expensive when they came out. Anyone who's priced a Kindle recently knows you can get a really great device for now under $100. But when they came out, the market wasn't really sure, and they charged quite a premium price. But here's what you got for that money. First off, Amazon was banking hard on the idea of subsidizing the Kindle through the sale of cheap ebooks. When the Kindle bookstore first launched, just about every ebook was $9.99, and there was a lot of controversy with publishers and with authors about whether that was devaluing the value of ebooks relative to their print counterparts. And so after a pretty prolonged fight, we finally see the publisher set pricing like we have today, which is usually more in the realm of $15 to $17, sometimes with ebooks costing more than what you'd find in a discounted bookstore. From a technology point of view, this thing was absolutely stacked. It came with 3G wireless, it has a headphone jack, it has mini USB instead of micro, which is actually a more robust connector, though it's a little fatter. It has a scroll wheel. We're going to take a look at how all this works. It has a 6-inch screen, which isn't bad in terms of size, but it's only 167 ppi compared to the 300 ppi of current Kindle devices, which is a lot less. It's less than it sounds. So we're going to take a look and see what it's actually like to read on compared to one of the newer devices. It has its own speaker, which is pretty cool. It has really easy to use page turn and page back buttons. It has 4-level grayscale and an SD card, which we'll take a look at also, which is pretty cool. Most of these features were dropped or were made more streamlined in later versions of the device to make it cheaper. And they've certainly done that, but it is also pretty cool to see when they just threw everything at this first generation device. You can see that the device has kind of a wedge shape, and it's tapered so that when you hold it in your left hand, it feels a lot like holding a book. It actually feels fine in the right hand too, but it definitely was made to be held in the left hand. The cool thing is you can easily change pages with your thumb, or you can use your other thumb if you prefer. There's no touchscreen here. Touchscreens didn't come around until later devices, and because of that, everything is handled through the physical interface. One of the things that is probably most noteworthy, especially if you've come to Kindle more recently, is the presence of the full keyboard. Now, Kindle had a keyboard for several generations, but in this first one, they had this honestly kind of homely angled design. I guess they did that so it kind of felt like tapered to your fingers or something. I don't know. I think it's pretty gross looking. I think the later versions looked a lot better, but it actually does type pretty well. It feels a lot like using one of the texting phones at the time, like say a Sidekick. I think that was probably an inspiration for this device. It's hard to imagine it wasn't. Despite it being kind of chunky, it is lighter than it looks. It's a 290 grams, which is about 10.2 ounces. As you can see, one of the things, if you're not accustomed to e-ink, is really it's only consuming power when the page is being turned, when the pixels are being refreshed. You can see there's a message here saying that the battery is dead. It's probably been dead for a very long time, but we're going to change this one out with a brand new battery and see if we can get it working again. It is kind of wild to see a device which has probably been non-working for years still have something show up on the screen, but that's just the nature of e-ink. There is a volume rocker on the bottom, as well as a dedicated power port. You can trickle charge off of the mini USB port, but there is a 5-volt charger here. Luckily, I have a phone charger that seems to work, and so we're going to change the battery out and see if we can charge it. So the current battery that's in this device right now is a 3.7 volt, 1530 milliamp battery. They do sell third-party batteries on Amazon, and I have this one. It's from the Sino brand, a Hong Kong brand, which I gotta tell you, it's nicely packaged. It's got this little carrying case situation going on here. It's even kind of at a Dutch angle inside the package. I don't know if that's intentional, but I kind of like it. The milliamp hour level is a little bit lower than stock. This one's 1530, this one's 1200. So, you know, we'll see what kind of battery life we get. Frankly, I'll be really thrilled if this thing powers up and works at all. So let's swap it out and see what happens. So we'll open up our battery here. Take it out. Take this guy out, see how he does. So I have to pry these guys. Comes out, and now we should be able to just unplug it and put in our new Sino battery. All right, so that battery is out. You can see it was really just an unplugged job there. So I'm going to plug this one back in. You should be able to see the battery charging port is right there, and this guy will just plug right in. I don't know if it will come with any charge. I'm not going to assume it will, but plug it in. And make room for that. And it should just press down in there. Okay, so that's snapped in there. And now, great news. Your battery is too low and Kindle is shutting down. You must recharge your Kindle battery to continue. So I'm going to charge this for a few hours, and when we come back, we'll see how it works and what the experience is of using this thing is in 2023. All right, well, it's been a couple of hours, and as you can see, the Kindle has booted up. The battery is fully charged, and everything looks good. A couple of weird things about using this device in 2023. Foremost among those things is that it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So it literally can't connect to Kindle services in any way at all. You can see these books are the books that the device shipped with. The person who sent them to me had these books on here. I can sideload them with Calibre, which is great. But in terms of syncing across multiple Kindle devices, doing the reading sync, none of that is going to work anymore. This device is isolated. It is blocked off from the internet. There is no connection whatsoever. Amazon actually gave a free device back in, I think, 2021 when they retired these devices that don't have Wi-Fi. If you were actively using them, they would give you a free Kindle 10th generation. Obviously, I just bought this, and that was something I knew about, that I wouldn't be able to do everything I wanted to, but it is something to consider if you, for whatever reason, might be looking to get something to mess around with here in 2023. You can definitely get something that will still connect. Couple of other things to note. First is you can see the ghosting on this device is quite significant. You can see there's an outline there from a previous screen, and if I just pick a particular book, you can see I've got this little cursor here on the right that tracks up with both lines in the book as well as lines on the screen. And the reason they did that is because these screens were not nearly as performant, as able to refresh in the same way that current devices can, and so the only way to make it so that it wasn't a total drag to use was to have it use this cursor. So I'm going to say let's pick one of these Stieg Larsson books, and you can see I can go previous page. And if you are a Kindle user, you may notice that this is an insanely long refresh time. It's doing what looks like a full screen refresh each time, but it's clearly not, because it is leaving behind a lot of ghosting from the prior screen's context. And so, these screens have come a long way. E-ink screens have come a long way in the 15 years since this device first launched. But for the time it came out, this is actually pretty great. I hope I'm not spoiling this book for somebody. It's been out for a while, so don't read what's on screen if you are inclined to read The Girl Who Played with Fire. But what you can see is a lot of the things that we've come to know for Kindle is still there. We've got the locations down here. This does not have the option to see page numbers like current devices do. These early Kindle devices could only read the Mobi format and the AZW format, not the current AZW3. Now, if you want to get content on this Kindle, you can use Calibre and a mini USB cable and do so. I'm actually going to load a modern book on, and let's see what happens. Okay, I've plugged in the mini USB cable down here at the bottom, and now I'm going to send a copy of one of my favorite books over. This is Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. Let's see if it works. All right, it says it's sending. You can see the USB activity light is down here. And, okay, so now let's disconnect and see if Blood Meridian is on the device. And if we go home, you can see down here there's a dedicated home button. And it refreshes, and sure enough, we've got Blood Meridian. This was loaded from Calibre over USB. And there's the cover. Looks like everything works. As you can see, page refreshes are painfully slow and weirdly incomplete, right? It's easy to overlook how much better devices now, these Kindle devices are, these e-ink screens are, at doing an intermittent refresh without the full refresh, and how little ghosting we have on the more modern devices. But the reality is, my book is here. Now, a couple of things that are really cool about this device is it has a headphone jack. If you are interested in listening to audiobooks, now obviously you couldn't do it anymore because there'd be no good way to load them on, as well as a speaker on the back. And you have dedicated volume controls. In fact, a lot of dedicated buttons all around, including a full keyboard and a number row. This device really was an experiment, obviously, for Amazon, where they were trying to figure out what people wanted in an e-reader, and really threw everything, the whole kitchen sink, at this device. I'm not going to lie, the screen is pretty grainy, but it's totally usable. The reality is, for $50 now, you could get a refurbed modern Kindle, so there'd be no reason to do what I did here, because a older one like this is about $20 on eBay, and the battery is probably, I think I spent 15 or $20 too. So for $40, this is not exactly the best deal, especially since it can't connect to Wi-Fi. but it totally does work. If we look up close at the pixel density of this first generation Kindle, it's actually pretty impressive, even though it's only 167 dpi, which is a lot lower than the 300 you'd get with the current device. It looks pretty great. It's very easy to read. Fonts resolve very well. Serifs resolve well. It's not nearly as attractive and as sharp as a modern Kindle, but it looks pretty great. It's easy to forget how many creature comforts have come to the Kindle line since this device launched. The most important one is probably, for me at least, the backlight or the side light, the glow light. Being able to read this device without any kind of external light is a huge, impactful change. This screen is definitely lacking in contrast compared to current Kindles, which are much closer. You can see that's very much a gray. New Kindles are much closer to, if not a white, a much lighter gray than this was, and it really makes the text pop a lot more. Obviously, connectivity is lacking. Not having Wi-Fi is basically a deal killer these days, but you can still get books on this through USB. What I want to emphasize, though, is what a transformative and important device this is. Even though in every way imaginable, the current devices are a better deal. They're much less expensive. They're much more functional and performant. This device tried to do a little bit of everything. This was a huge gamble and a huge kitchen sink kind of device for Amazon, where they really threw all kinds of technology into it. Everything from a full keyboard to 3G wireless, free 3G wireless, to headphone jack and the ability to listen to audiobooks, to a replaceable battery, which is something that, frankly, everything should have now. It's really awesome to be able to just throw a new battery in this in 2023 and have it just spring to life and work as if it was new. The form factor, I think, of this device is pretty amazing. Thinner isn't always better. This feels just so good in the hand, and this rubbery back feels pretty spectacular to hold. So there is a lot to admire about this device. It's an awful lot of fun to pick one up now, even if you have to sideload your books. Even if you never plan to read on it, it's still a pretty awesome piece of technology and a pretty cool piece of ebook history. If you have any questions, ask in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear what you'd like to know more about. If there's anything I missed, let me know. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks.